In the studio today, Black and Gold Photography.
Hello, Kyle.
Hello.
At Black and Gold Photography, Joel Boily, said that right?
Yeah, that's right.
And Cheryl Maines.
Yes.
Yes, and it's the first time I've met you in person.
Yeah.
So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for coming in. Husband and wife tag team.
That's us.
Yeah. Website is blackandgoldphotography.com. And like I said, at Black and Gold Photography on both Instagram and Facebook. And for anybody listening, they have 5-star review ratings on both Google and Wedding Wire. And they don't have just one rating, it's multiple. So these folks aren't messing around.
And Facebook too, I believe. But
Oh, yes,
I'll be
and
honest,
Facebook.
I'll
No,
be
I
honest,
did.
I have never looked at
Yeah.
that.
No, you're right. I did look at that. I just forgot to write it down. And Facebook. So the trifecta of the 5-star rating. So I'm just going to read a quick excerpt off your website.
Sure.
If you don't mind to start. It says, Black and Gold Photography is a full-service photography company specializing in weddings based out of Manitoba, Canada. They're available for travel worldwide. Black and Gold is known for its candid photojournalistic style using a combination of natural light and flash photography. So the first thing I want to ask is the worldwide part. Is that common? Have you guys done much traveling?
I would say it's more hopeful.
Yeah. Hey.
Well, we
Yeah, we are
done.
definitely available.
We've done a lot of traveling for ourselves in the last few years, or just for workshops and conferences,
Right.
Wedding based. And whenever we do go somewhere, we do try to promote that and just find a couple. So we do use it to our advantage to just promote our work as well. But we haven't had, I guess,
Yeah, we
like
haven't
a
really done
full
like we
wedding.
haven't had somebody like bring us out for destinations, which that is, I would say, kind of the downfall of being like it's. I think it's pretty clear we do everything together. Like there's no situations where Cheryl will do a wedding here and Joel will do a wedding here, right? So even for destinations, it's all or nothing. So that obviously does add to the cost.
Yeah.
So it's we're hoping to get a few. I mean, we've had some interest for like the typical like Mexican destination wedding, that kind of thing. But for the most part, we're still local, but we're trying to start to branch out a little bit within Canada. Like, West Coast would be great. But
Yeah, because you guys recently did, you went to, was it Venice or in Paris or something like that? You guys did a little bit of a Europe trip where you were doing some,
it's
on Instagram,
actually
you're doing some shoots.
A little town called Colmar, like an hour out of Paris, and they have a section, a little area called Little Venice because it looks very similar. It's actually the town that they say the original Beauty and the Beast was based off of.
Okay.
It's all this like German architecture, it's like right near the border of Germany and France. We were just kind of wandering around, and this young couple from Serbia was just kind of hanging out. We started chatting with them, and we're like, "Hey, what are you guys doing later? You want to do a shoot?" And so we did a cute little shoot in this town, and it's a great way to meet new people, kind of outside of our own circle, and also, you're in these destinations, and as much as we like shooting like landscape and that kind of stuff, what we really like shooting is couples, right? So it's
that's
we're
your
in this
passion.
place and we're like, I just wish we had a bride and groom here. so we just kind of strike up conversations where we can and offer.
Yeah, the basis of that trip though was to go to Cannes for the Way Up North conference. That was why we were there, and we just kind of made that stop beforehand. So
we had never been, so we figured we'd go a week early to France and just start in Paris and make our way down to the south in time for the conference, which was amazing.
And what was the conference like? Do you mind elaborating a little bit what the conference is all about?
So Way Up North is a European photography network, I guess.
Yeah, they're a community, and it's European based. Well, the people that started it are actually from Canada, so we were kind of giving them heck of why don't we have this in Canada kind of thing. But it was basically about 8 speakers.
It was 10 in total. It was a 2-day conference.
Okay.
And we just kind of, went there and listened to some really epic photographers from around the world and just other people in the wedding industry. And it was really inspiring. We just met other people, and they did kind of like a welcome shoot when we got there the first day. So that was really fun with some vendors that they put together. And it's just whenever we leave things like that, we just come back with new ideas, and we just want to.
You're inspired.
We're inspired.
Yeah.
We just want to use them in Winnipeg because
we do try to make an effort to look outside of our own market for inspiration. Otherwise, it goes in a circle. Just everybody kind of cannibalizing each other, copying each other's styles, and then there's no growth, right? So we try to look for outside photographers that we are doing cool things in places that are just look nothing like, what we're used to, so that we can, kind of spin it and maybe try and bring something that nobody here is doing, so that we can, try to be original and, bring something new to the table for our clients, right?
Yeah, you distinguish yourself against the rest of the pack that way. Like you're
it's
not just
not
a
really
cookie cutter photographer.
Yeah, like we hear a lot of, and especially at that conference too, a lot of, I guess, like the bigger name photographers in Europe, they even say that they don't follow their friend photographers because they don't want to copy off of them or just like do something and then feel like they've almost copied it. So,
That's
I mean,
interesting.
not to say that we're going to like not follow or look at all of our like peers.
We did
because
have
we
that
love
conversation. We're like, should we unfollow everybody? Because
Yeah, but
it's hard not to, you see a cool photo of somebody, Winnipeg's a small city, so you see some awesome shot and you're like, oh, I have a wedding there next weekend. How do I not try and do it? And, so sometimes we'll kind of borrow a little bit, but we'll try and throw our own spin on it. I mean, we say to all of our couples and to ourselves, like, we never try to repeat ourselves. Which is really hard when you shoot in the same venue like 10 times in a year. But, the couple will say like, oh, can we do this shot we saw? It's like, well, we can, kind of use that as inspiration, but let's do something new for you. Let's, take a different spin on it, right?
I was actually going to ask that about, do you let the couple dictate, and if they want to shoot this, this, and this, you just say, yep, sure, or do you guys always try and point them in the direction?
We definitely point. I mean, not to say that we won't take suggestions. Like, we've had a few people just say things like, oh, can we bring you a list of shots on our wedding day? But we really want our couples to trust what we're doing. I mean, that's why they're hiring us, right? It's for our expertise, whether that be the lighting on the day of, the time on the day of, or just how the day's going on a wedding in general. Like, you can never predict how a true wedding is going to go on the day of. So we just we use all of those things to create those shots on the day of. And I mean, like, our couples are all of them are like really cool, and they just always end up like liking what we're doing with them. And we kind of just show them as we're going, and we give them a lot of variety too while we're doing it. So we know there'll be something in there that they'll like.
Yeah, we'd like to think our brand, if you want to call it, is pretty personal, in the sense that if somebody's hiring us, it's because they sat down, we had coffee for an hour and we chatted, and they're hiring us because they can see us, being by their sides for that entire day. I mean, as a wedding photographer, you're almost like almost part of the bridal party. You're there for the whole morning, so our couples, especially after we do the engagement session and all that, like, I think they trust us. But yeah, if they're like, hey, this is cool, we'll absolutely, we'll work it in. Sometimes those suggestions come at not an ideal time. So we'll say, hey, we'll come back when the lighting is, here, opposed to right this second, or, I love that idea, but, how about we try it this way? Just, not everybody obviously understands lighting and angles and how photography works. So you kind of have to educate your clients.
And that must be kind of tough, if you say you try not to repeat yourselves. I mean, that must, like, I am not generally really a portrait photographer. I mean, I've done a couple family sessions here and there, and I struggle with trying to come up with ideas. So I don't know if do you find it's because of the experience, it's easier for you guys to come up with always new things, or is it always a struggle?
It's not like a conscious thing where we're like, it's well, maybe that's the wrong way of saying it, but we do it for ourselves. Yeah. It's, we've already got that shot. So we want to do something different to challenge ourselves, because the second we get bored with doing this, that's just the detriment to any wedding photographer. People don't really get into wedding photography to get rich. It's because they love doing it. Yeah. Right? So we want to keep ourselves inspired, and trying new things, really gets us amped up. And we hope that our couples see that and see how much, passion we pour into like trying something new with them. It's not to say that once we've done a shot, we'll just never do it again. We just try to change it a little bit, because to me, I don't like delivering a photo that looks identical to something we did the week before. That when I see that, it just shows me that, like, okay, so are they just working off a shot list? Is it like, some cookie cutter thing they do every time? Like, we really...
And we definitely bounce ideas off of each other before weddings, for sure. We're like, okay, well, we'll do our basis, as we call it, between ourselves, that we know the shots that are the shots that we have to get for what couples would really want, I guess you could say. But then those creatives, that's what we kind of discuss ahead of time, where it's like, okay, we're going to maybe go at this time. We'll light it this way this time. but maybe just try it from this angle. So there is for sure some planning ahead of time that we do have to do for those. But yeah, like you said, we try not to repeat it.
Do you find it difficult if, like, for people who are listening who don't know Winnipeg is about 750,000 people, maybe 800,000. I mean, every city has its cliche spots. Do you find it difficult to keep coming up with, if you're whether be going to the Forks or the Exchange, to try and not keep repeating? Like, do you find it difficult to try and come up with something new, or do you enjoy the challenge?
I enjoy the challenge.
You're going to go to the same places.
Exactly, yeah. And the
it's
Forks,
inevitable.
Yeah, the Forks is a great example, actually. We've done so many sessions, whether they be like our love story engagements or even just weddings in general. And again, we have those, I guess there's like locations and all of these things, but we'll again use that location in a different way. So I like the challenge. It's
no day's made the same. You know, the lighting's always different. So although, you know, I'm trying to think of an example.
Well, okay, I know there's one I really appreciated.
Yeah, sure.
It was at the Basilica. It was looking up into the tower through the ring.
Oh, yeah.
That shot blew my mind.
Yeah, we got a lot of response on that. See, and that's one that's really fun to do. So when, you know, in talking about like not repeating ourselves, that concept, we've done it. I can't speak. Wedding hangover, I'm telling you. It's just 2 days of weddings being on. I can barely, my brain's
That's
not
tough.
working today.
We forgive you.
Appreciate it.
Most of us couldn't do that.
But that whole concept of kind of looking up with just the hands in, you know, whether it be holding the ring or something like that, we have definitely done that before, but we try to frame it differently or light it differently or give it a different color tone.
It was almost like a Sistine Chapel type moment. Like there's a hand reaching for the ring.
Yeah.
And like it was
and
it was
you know,
good.
I'm not going to say that we came up with that out of midair. We've seen concepts like that. It's just kind of like, okay, how can we do it?
Put our own spin on it.
Exactly.
So I guess that's what you can say is we'll grab that whole inspiration thing from other, you know, like whether it be the European photographers or whatnot, but we'll try to
like painting, like
or we'll just bring that to Winnipeg and what can we do here with that sort of idea.
Okay.
But yes, with the Basilica in general, like we've shot there, I don't know, dozens of times. You know, sometimes depending on the time of day we're there, we're, you know, okay, well, let's get the shot of in front of the entire, you know, burnt down
the whole
ruins of the church.
So everybody can see that.
You know, get that, because that's kind of the shot that most people have in their head. I want my bridal party all lined up on the stairs, and you know, that's kind of what you would expect.
Yeah.
We get that out of the way. All right, now let's play. How's the sun coming in here this time of day, on this day? Okay, we have a cool, you know, one little ray of light coming through here. Let's try and place, you know, her in the light and him in the shadow, that kind of thing. So it's just, I don't even know where I'm going here. But it's just, you know, we kind of cover our bases. We get what we think the couple expects us to get.
And then
we go.
And then we play around, and that's
try something new.
That is a huge thing about what we tell our couples too. Is I guess a lot of couples, when planning their wedding timelines and things like that, they will really think about different locations and, I need like 3-4 locations for photos on my wedding days, when that's really not the case. Because, you know, the more time we have to play and get creative in just one single spot, the more we can come up with and just really give like different things for our couples and different aspects, different angles, different whatever it may be for them.
We kind of joke. We'd say like we'd rather spend 4 hours in a McDonald's than go to 5 different epic locations, because, you know, it's just finding the little things. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, you know, where should we go for photos? What's the most epic place? We don't need a lot. We just need time to work. You know, I think a big common misconception in photography in general is, you know, this is a photographer. This is just somebody who invested a lot of time and money into gear. And we are not gearheads whatsoever. We use just the tools we need, and we just need the time to analyze light and just come up with concepts and you know, find compositions in anywhere. We really sometimes will avoid the obvious shot, the bridge in the background, that kind of thing. You know, when there's a fountain on the property, we steer clear the other way, because the last thing we want is a fountain in the background.
Yeah.
You know, we try to avoid, you know, the things that people would expect from seeing wedding photography in the 90s, you know?
Yeah. Okay. I just want to get back to one other thing that you mentioned about when you're traveling, so you go out and look for like that couple that you shot so you just strike up a conversation and then say you want to do a session?
We're open.
Yeah,
open to it.
we're
We don't
open
hunt.
to it. Yeah, it's not like we're like going there and be like, who can we find? But it's the few couples that we have found. It's literally been, we see a couple trying to take a cell phone photo of themselves, trying to take a selfie. I'll kind of walk up and just say, hey, do you want me to take that photo for you guys? And we're like, oh yeah, for sure. And then we just kind of, like introduce ourselves of like, hey, we actually like do this professionally. What's the rest of your trip look like? That sort of thing, which is kind of funny because the ones that have really like took us up on the offer have recently like been engaged and stuff. And although they don't live, we've had one
Can we tell their story? Grace
Yeah,
and
there's
Grace?
one
So we were in
Italy.
last year, and we were hiking the Cinque Terre. I'd probably say butchering that name, but it's a UNESCO World Heritage site, and it's these 5 gorgeous towns where there's like a epic hike between them. It's nuts. And we were hiking it, and we're just walking past this couple, and they stopped us, and they're like, "Hey, do you think you could take a photo?" And we're like, yeah, I think we could probably manage. So we took a photo of them. It turns out they were from Wisconsin and Minnesota separately. She was studying in Florence for like a 6-month period, and he had flown out to see her.
Okay.
They had been separated for months, and that was the next day was going to be their last day together before he goes back and before she finishes her study. So we got to talking, and we ended up lining up a session with them the next morning. And it was just they really embraced it, and they felt it because it was that we're about to part. And we just got a message from them a couple months ago saying, we look at those photos all the time, our relationship's getting
that's nice.
deeper and whatnot, and we just can't imagine having anybody else. Would you be willing to come to the States to do it? And I mean, absolutely.
So it's going to be like in Minnesota or Wisconsin, something like that?
Something like that. But it was just,
That's cool.
It was forming that connection. And, now we still chat on Instagram here and there, like we get messages from them and here and there, and we get to follow along their lives. I think she's done school now, and he's a pro golfer, so it's cool to like see all his stuff.
So it's about meeting people and just making the connections, and that's what I think a lot of just like photography and business in general actually is just about, and just it just one thing leads to another thing. So it's worked out for us nicely. And
so these, like when you're doing this in Italy or whatever, and you're talking, are these compensated gigs? Or is it kind of like, we'll just do them and it's like a portfolio
They
thing?
often offer, but we're happy to do it. I mean, we're in these gorgeous places, and we just want to try stuff. And, when you're not being paid to do something, you have full creative control to just do anything wacky you want.
And now it leads to a paid job.
Exactly.
Well,
and that's
potentially,
what I mean. It's almost like karma, right? Where it's like, what goes around comes around, and it's good vibes. So it's, you do something and they just appreciate it, and you just make that relationship like with them. And then, if they do end up getting married, and it's just, we'll be the first that they
It's
think of.
never the goal though. It's just, we love what we do. And, every time we go somewhere, it's just, we wish we had a wedding here. We wish we had a couple here to work with. And when it works out, we're happy to offer it.
That's very cool. Very cool. Just changing gears here a little bit, back to some stuff I found on your website under This Is Us, just to talk about you two, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
It says that, I figure since it's on the website, it's public, so we can talk about it. It says, we met in 2008, and we knew we were meant to be together after one fateful night of Disney karaoke and wine. I want to talk about that.
You want to go, or should I?
Sure. We met because I was living with 3 other roommates, actually Kyle Schapper being one of them.
Oh, no way.
That's how we met Kyle.
That's how we met. So I was living, with a friend, and he brought Kyle over, and Kyle would bring Joel over, and we just kind of all became friends that way, and just like a big group. And then just one night I was actually with one of my girlfriends, and we were sitting in our grade 12 grad dresses, and
we were having a grad and wine night.
Yeah, it wasn't even graduation though. We just wanted to wear our dresses.
I mean, how many times do you get to wear
exactly.
it?
Yeah. So we were doing that.
This was like, to be clear, this was like 4 years after graduation.
Yeah,
a goof.
And so we were just sitting watching TV, and then Joel was just coming over that night to hang with the guys, and then we just had an idea of like, hey, let's just all get dressed up and head to Limelight.
Yeah.
It was like a Wednesday night. It was just so random.
It was really
I love that.
Yeah, in the middle
so
of
we
the...
ended up, I think Phil had a suit that fit me, so we all suited up, and we went to Limelight and told everybody it was our grad night.
We said it was like our university grad.
Okay.
Yeah, so we just all went there.
Wasn't it like in March? Like, I don't know why anybody believed this, but
and
at the time I was trying to court the young lady, and I know she's a huge Disney fan, so I had the karaoke DJ or what have you play a song from Aladdin. Yeah, and
Classic.
yeah, and just I made him call her up because it's a duet. A whole new world. Yeah, it is.
When I read this, I thought this was like karaoke in someone's living room.
No,
I didn't think
We
this
went
was
to
like
Limelight.
legit karaoke.
Dolled up, making somewhat of a fool of ourselves, and I'm pretty sure I hooked her after that.
Yeah, so that was that, and we actually have some film photos from like a really old camera of that night, which is really funny. But yeah,
That's cool. I'm really glad I asked that. It goes on to say that you guys got married in 2016 and now help guide couples through their own wedding days and do whatever it takes to get them the best wedding photography experience that we can. So you recently, I don't know if recently is the right term, but you haven't done this full time for a long time.
Nope. First, we just hit our 1 year anniversary a month ago.
Okay.
Being
Congratulations.
full-time. Yeah. Thank you.
How long did you folks do it part time?
I started 10 years ago.
well,
I should
Okay.
say at this point,
Yeah.
I will get into that, but black and gold part time.
Yeah.
Before you went full time.
2010.
yeah, and
Okay.
then you started.
So
it.
yeah, so I mean, I'll just back
Well,
up a little bit. So
yeah.
what happened is once we started dating, Cheryl at the time was working part time at Sears Portrait Studio.
Okay.
Yes.
Serious
Because I was
throwback
gonna
there.
I was
I
gonna get into
figured
that.
you were
So
gonna get
I love interviewing you guys. You guys are great to interview. I don't even have to
Yeah.
ask the questions.
So what happened? You know, we were how old were you? 21, 22, something like that.
Yeah, I was. I was just working at
So
Sears part time.
She was in university, kind of working part time. I was just moving to Winnipeg. I'm from Steinbach. And I was just kind of looking for a job. And Cheryl mentioned that, there might be a full-time position at Sears Portrait. At the time, not really into photography. I took a photography class in high school. It was a lot of fun. But, at the time, I never really saw it as a career, which I'm sure a lot of young people, I mean, maybe that's changed now with, the Instagram culture. But back then, it seemed more of like a, bit of a hobby, I guess. Anywho, so I ended up taking the job as like an assistant manager with Sears Portrait Studio at a different studio where Cheryl was working. And after about 6 months, we ended up getting moved to the same studio, St. Vital, which is now all closed.
Yeah.
And we ended up kind of being manager and assistant manager for about a year and a half or so there. And in that time, just kind of like learning like the raw basics of like, how do kids react when you do this? How do we, just like the
Posing was a
posing
huge
basics,
thing, yeah.
just creating shapes with heads and all that. Sears Portrait back in the day, you couldn't even change camera settings. It was all locked in by corporate. You couldn't do anything.
And was this film?
No.
Or was it digital?
She started
I
film.
started film, and then they had switched over to digital like 6
Yeah.
months after I had started.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you guys are also together at this point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we were. So yeah, we were not strangers to working together because that's kind of how we started our relationship, is working together for about 2 years or so. Yeah, so kind of like getting the basics of like photography and like, from at the time, I think it was more of just a job really, but we started to like really enjoy it and felt so just pigeonholed into the way they did things that eventually we just bought a camera. And I think we booked our first wedding in 2011. It was somebody Cheryl went to high school with, and her and I shot it together. We were doing newborn sessions and family sessions, just friends and family. That's how you start, right? It's just your own network and doing it for next to nothing and just kind of like learning. And, you have that learning curve of, oops, I messed this up, or, hey, this was really fun. What did I do right? And then that kind of just snowballed. I think for a few years, I was doing maybe 3 to 5 weddings a year, but I was doing it solo. Cheryl wasn't really focused on that. And then right around the time we got engaged, so 2015, I guess, I had booked a wedding with another one of Cheryl's friends, and instead of getting a second shooter, I just said, Cheryl, why don't you just second shoot with me? And I'd been bringing second shooters along with me. And after we did that wedding, like it was the best one I had done, and it was all thanks to having her there, just like noticing things that I didn't notice, just expressions, the way her hair was and things like that just as a guy I sometimes overlook. So just that kind of like sparked it, and we took things a lot more serious and started developing a plan, which took us maybe a year and a half to start building up. Last year we had about 18, 19 weddings. The year prior.
Like the last year of part-time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we kind of just, saved everything we could so that we would have that buffer zone. And then
we made a very, strategic plan of, leaving our 9-to-5s of if we can hit this many weddings a year in advance, because that's kind of how far people book in advance. And we'll give it a shot. Now's the time to do it. And last year we hit that goal, so we made the move, and now we're...
Yeah, it's been really great.
Now it's been great, yeah.
Our first, there's obviously a slow season and a busy season, especially in Winnipeg with winter and whatnot. So our first slow season was interesting. Kind of had a couple weeks throughout there where it was oh, we don't have a shoot for 3 weeks. What do we do with ourselves? But that's also the time that we just start digging in and creating our blog posts and really analyzing our own customer experience and how can we make that better. So we created love story session guides, so to help people color coordinate and plan for their sessions and find locations that mean something to them, and just kind of picking apart our business. And I think we're going to probably do that again after this busy season to try and improve. We're always just trying to get better for our clients so that we can keep having clients that we like working with, really.
Yeah.
And on your website too, it says that you were kind of interactive DJ on the wedding scene.
Yeah, well, that was...
We actually both did that, too.
Yeah, we both did that, yeah. I think I was 18, 19. I was in school for audio engineering, actually, and I had a friend that was DJing on the side, $50 a night kind of thing on a Friday night just to make a little coin. So I tried it, and my dad was actually a DJ, so it kind of felt like I don't know.
A fit.
Yeah, it was a point of pride or something like that.
Okay.
So I did that for a couple of years, just really part-time. I was not very good.
And then I had done a couple of gigs with my older cousin. He has a DJ company that he's been doing for, 20 years now, I would say. So then even before we met, and then when we did meet, and he was like, oh, I DJ. And I'm like, I kind of do too. And we then ended up, we did a few gigs together. And that was, I guess, just our very first introduction into the wedding scene.
Yeah.
Was DJing.
But after a couple of years, I realized that this is not where my passion. I love music, but I got a little stage fright, trying to do cool things all the mixing and whatnot that people do.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
And then you also worked at Dawn's Photo.
I did, yeah,
right?
for a bit. There was a time, actually it was right after working at Sears, where I was making the decision do I go into photography school and, fork out that kind of money and that time, or do I just, take a simple job at a camera store, which I highly recommend. I think that's a great place to learn. I learned from so many people that I work with. Customers would come in and we would just chat about, their shoots, things like that. So I got a really good education there. And also, the odd time I'd be able to play with new gear, that kind of stuff, take it out of the store and try it out sometimes, and just really get a feel for that industry.
Okay.
I think I was there for probably less than a year. But I highly recommend that,
Yeah, you can still learn a lot even in less than a year, especially just playing with the gear and talking to people.
We're self-taught. YouTube, school of YouTube, it's all there. But really when it comes down to it, it's just you got to put in the time.
It's just experience, and even weddings that we do now, it's we're still learning stuff, or just things that we can improve on. It's just do it as much.
I hope that never stops.
Yeah.
Well, you guys have a humble attitude, because to me, you guys are some of the best in the whole city. And just to hear that you guys, saying that you always have stuff to learn, and that's a really good attitude to have.
Well, we appreciate that. I'm still working on accepting compliments, because 3 years ago, I was in awe of all these people, and just.
It's good though to look back at your own work, to just kind of use that too as inspiration. It's we look at weddings from 5 years ago, and it's man, just look at where we've come from that, and just how much. We've just improved in that, and it just, I don't know, that kind of.
Sometimes I look back 5 years ago, and I'm actually kind of impressed at how little we knew at that time.
Yeah.
But it still looked really good.
Yeah.
So how would you say your style has changed over the years?
Every year.
Yeah, every year.
We're
Even
constantly evolving.
Even from beginning to wedding season to end of wedding season, I think in some cases, even whether that's editing or just things that we're kind of going for. For example, last year I think we were pretty pose based, I guess you can say. You know, we'd go into weddings with like, okay, I'm gonna try this pose, etc. But then this year, it's really about emotion and just getting, just making people. Or I hope when they see our photos, they get
something.
a feeling more than just like, oh, it's a pretty photo.
Yeah. A couple of years ago, I think there was some. I'm losing track of time. Maybe 2 years ago. There was a string of weddings where we just felt like at a loss for like, oh, what do we do next? And we got really hung up on posing. So we wanted to master posing. So we analyzed our own work, other people's stuff, and just like, okay, we need to have 20 poses in the back of our head that we can bust out. So we got really good at that. But then we started to look back and we realized that, some of our stuff is a little stiff from that time. It looks great, but it's a little stiff. So now, like Cheryl was saying, like we don't pose as much anymore. We guide. So we'll have, we'll find, the location we want, the spot, where the light's coming in, and we'll give them a starting point, but then we'll give them an action, whether,
make them
just
laugh
walking,
or
laughing,
make them, we just want
bite their ear,
reactions
that
from
kind of thing.
people. Yeah.
Sometimes I'll say really stupid stuff just to get that, how do I say it? Like, I'll give them a really weird direction where I'm not actually wanting to take that photo. I'm wanting to take the photo of their reaction to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it sounds like I have fun with it. I think people think I'm crazy on wedding days, to be honest with you. I get a little hyper.
That's good though. It's good to have a photographer who knows what he's doing or knows what they're doing and is, for lack of a better term, bossy. Because you can't be a pushover or just a passive photographer, because then the pictures are going to look like crap.
Yeah, it takes a certain personality. I know a lot of photographers have said, I shot a wedding.
I mean, you don't want to be a total jerk, but
no.
I mean,
sometimes
you
have to be a little bit.
Yeah, but I mean,
there's a fine line.
Yeah, that's when I'll tame him down. I'll be like, okay, calm down.
Yeah, no, I've talked to a lot of photographers, from different lanes who have said, yeah, I've done a couple weddings, but I can't do it. I just don't like it, which is so weird to me because as somebody who just truly loves all aspects of photography, wedding days are the perfect combination. Like, you can't name a style of photography that isn't in a wedding day. Macro photography, ring shots, details, sport photography, the kids running around.
That's true.
Landscape, when you're in these, awesome spots, you can, big wide shots, you just throw in a couple people in there, and the list goes on. So I really love that because it really keeps me on my toes. I get to just kind of implement all these different styles of photography into one day. You're a big fan of night photography. We actually insist for, any wedding that allows for it, at least, that we do our nightcap. At the end of the night, we bring them out when it's dark, which is sometimes hard in the middle of June. It doesn't get dark till 11, but where we try to, we bust out a softbox or just some flashes and we try to create something that looks completely different from the rest of their day.
Okay.
And sometimes that's just for us because we love doing it. And usually that's their favorite photo, right?
It's kind of unique. You don't see stuff like that a lot of the time.
It's hard to do. You're exhausted by that time. It's hard to push yourself sometimes to hey, I know we're tired. I know we're allowed to leave at this point.
Yeah,
but let's,
and not
let's
only
just
that,
do it.
sometimes the couple's tired by that point too.
Yeah.
They're already in the middle of partying and dancing. They don't want to be
tipsy.
pulled away from their guests. But we really, we tell them ahead of time too of their day. It's you guys, this is going to be a really epic shot. Just come with us for 5 more minutes. And
we make it pretty painless. I'll usually sneak away. I'll go set it up first, do the light tests, text Cheryl, bring them, and they walk up. 2 seconds. We're done. Go back.
Yeah.
Okay. Have a great night.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. One thing I've noticed over the last number of years, and this is kind of in reference to that question I asked about style changing, and since you guys have done it for a while, 10 years or so, what do you think of, to me anyway, wedding shots or portraits anyway, are they a lot more kind of moody or color corrected than they were years ago, a lot more vibrant greens? I don't really know how to describe it, but vibrant greens, vibrant yellow, everything pops a little bit more. The blacks are black, a lot of use of lighting versus just just a typical photo. I don't know if I'm making sense here, but
yeah.
So you're saying that you're noticing that more today
over the last couple of years, and I like it. I think couples photography or weddings, I think they look so much better than say 10 or 15 years ago when it was just a photo.
Yeah, for sure.
That had very minimal corrections done. Now it's very tonal and amazing.
A lot of what goes into wedding photography obviously is
the back end.
the back end of it, meaning presets, and it's we even have like our own like base presets that we obviously like we start with, but
Which
obviously
we've created. We don't.
yeah, it's
Don't
our
just go buy
it's
dirty
our
boots, messy hairs, and
No,
expect
no.
your wedding photography to
Yeah.
be amazing.
no, it's
you
our
know?
own presets. Yeah,
It's a
that
lot of effort to
we've-
do presets.
It is.
People don't realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
so-
they don't just work on every single shot. I mean, it's a base, and really it's all about just maintaining the same kind of tone curve and your own color tones, just to have that consistency. Because you know, if you're a few years back, I edited every shot solo by itself. I wouldn't sync anything really. I would just, how do I want this one to look? It took me way more time, but I also found that there was some serious inconsistencies. So, you know, in order to improve that, we started kind of just developing these presets that we would use as a base, and then we, you know, obviously still go through and correct every single one for that. But that's helped. But yeah, as far as, you know, to your point, and I'm sure there'll be an ebb to the flow. You know, things might come back where it is a little bit more neutral looking. But I think it's just people just wanting to.
There's
It's
just
like
I
a
don't know.
layering
There's
effect. Like,
yeah.
you know,
There's
people see a photo they love, so they try to, you know, just push it a little bit more. But Lightroom, I really think it's just a Lightroom thing. You know, I mean, if you're talking 20 years ago from now, it's having that platform to be able to tweak more. But yeah, I mean, as far as the style, like, I don't think there's just one style where, you know, there's trends, I suppose, but it's not like everybody's moving in the same direction. I can think of 10 different photographers in this city that have every different kind of style. You know, some people are really punchy, some people are, you know, a little bit more raw. For us, we do evolve. I mean, right now I'm loving a bit more of a flatter look, bringing back some more color. You know, a few years ago, I was a little bit more on the tonal side, like you're mentioning, where it's a little bit more desaturated, a lot more contrasty. But I mean, we do kind of edit for the day.
Okay.
We don't really just have a
yeah. Like
blanket that we
it'll
just
be
put over
very.
everything.
If it's like an overcast day, it's gonna look obviously not way different, but it will look different than if it's a bright sunny day.
Well, also what they're wearing.
yeah.
You know, if we had a wedding 2 weeks ago, bride told me her favorite color is blue. Every touch of the wedding, blue accents everywhere. So I edited a little bit cooler than I normally would because I know she loves blue. She's going to want that blue sky to pop. She's going to want that look. If we were to warm everything up, you know, it might not have that same tone. So we do we fluctuate a little bit to make it unique, to make it them as much as possible.
Okay. Do you guys prefer certain types of settings? Like, do you prefer traditional indoor or church weddings, you know, kind of like where it's a darker church or whatever? Or do you prefer like something where it's outside or very bright and airy? Or does it not matter? I'm sure one's harder than the other.
Yeah, we definitely prefer weddings where I think everything is happening in the same place. So if it's a wedding venue, you know, they can have the ceremony there and the reception there versus just like, you know, traveling from a church to a different location for the reception, etc. It's just, again, it's being in that one spot with more time. We can just do a lot more for them.
That's really what it comes down
photo-wise.
to. You know, I think what you're asking is like, do we work like working in, you know, like you said, the dark churches or, you know, the pretty open fields. Either's fine for us. We like a challenge. You know, we love shooting new places, but really it comes back to just having the time, because we've seen days where we spend more time driving than we spend time shooting, which what that ends up being is all we have time to do is kind of what you would expect. You know, the simple portraits. You know, we only have 15 minutes. Well, we have to at least get these before we can even start getting creative. So when we do have those days where, listen, we have 2 hours of like getting ready time where they're just hanging out. Okay, well now, you know, we'll get those makeup shots and whatnot, but now we have an hour to just do whatever we want. That's when we can really start to just do unique things or, you know, whatever, really. You know, I like to say, because we kind of keep talking about time, I like to say, you know, obviously the definition of photography is like, you know, light writing or it's the study of light or what have you. My argument is actually the study of time. It's things happening and in those moments. Obviously light plays a part in that, but for us, it's all about time, you know. At this conference we went to, one of the speakers, Cy Moore, he's a film photographer from New Zealand, and he just lit a fire under our butts with this. I'm going to butcher exactly what he was saying, but he was kind of describing to the crowd, he was trying to amp us all up make us all feel good about kind of what we do, as photographers or wedding photographers, I guess specifically. But, he was talking about, I don't know how far the sun is away from Earth, but it's like 500 million miles. He's like, you guys have to understand that you're alchemists. You take starlight from 500 million miles away that travels to Earth at that specific second, and you capture it in a bottle, So we try to take that approach. So again, just coming back to time, giving us more time to play with you guys will always yield better results than, having 5 minutes in the perfect location.
Okay. What's the hardest location you've ever shot at?
Millennium Center.
That or the Met.
What part of the
I like
Millennium
the Met.
Center?
It's all green marble.
So in like the banking hall? Because the one wedding party I've been in, we did photos in the Millennium Center, but we did actually all of them in that boardroom.
Yeah, which is nice in the boardroom.
That's a nice
but
boardroom.
for the reception, it's a weird color cast.
Everything does have a green tone to it for sure.
But it's also cool because you can get up top. There's like a balcony with all these like pillars and stuff like that, so you can do some.
It's
really cool stuff.
a good stuff. It's a good place for creatives, but if just like general wedding shots and stuff, it's a little trickier.
Mostly because of the temperatures of the color.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think speaking in temperature, that's probably the hardest situation is when it's plus 45.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I meant more like the
I
green
understand what you're saying,
yeah.
but as far as location, I don't know. Like, I mean, we like variety. We like the challenge. So even in a tough location, a gymnasium reception that isn't maybe the fanciest thing, whatever. Like, we'll make it work. It'll be cool. Yeah, I mean, it's really just.
What was hard about the Met?
It's just
I like the Met.
Yeah, the lighting though sometimes, like if they choose to do the ceremony on the stage, you just kind of have to set the lights up in the balcony, which is fine, but it's just a little trickier. I would
It's
say.
quite dark, so it's hard to shoot at the rate that we do. Like, we have to slow down a lot, and we shoot a lot. Like, Cheryl we had 2 weddings this past weekend, 2 weddings the weekend before, and we were super busy last weekend. So this week is kind of crunch time. So Cheryl has 26,000 photos to go through from those 4 weddings. And it's because we're hard on our shutters. We fly, we shoot a lot, and we want to capture every moment. I think we average like 5 photos a second or something like that.
So we talking like 5,000 photos each for a wedding, or does Cheryl shoot more than you would, or?
I think I overshoot a little bit more.
At the end of a wedding day, between the two of us, we'll come back with anywhere from 5,000 to 8,000 photos.
Yeah, we just broke a new record on Saturday with
over 8,000. Yeah, but that was on a 12-hour day.
It was, yeah.
Just for people listening who aren't familiar with these locations, the Met is a Metropolitan Theater. It's like a 100-year-old theater in Winnipeg. And then the Millennium Center is a 100-and-some-year-old bank that is now a reception hall. So just if you want to, by all means, Google it. You can find lots of pictures, especially of the Millennium Center. Yours truly. I've shot a lot of photos in there. Not really so much of the banking hall, but of everywhere else, but you'll get the idea. What type of gear do you use? I'm going to be that stereotypical question for the gearheads that are just dying for the last 43 minutes.
I mean, as I said, we're not really gearheads. I used to be. I used to be really snobbish and pixel peeper. If it's not perfectly sharp, it's trash. Throw it out. I don't care anymore. I actually like motion blur. I like grain. I like something that looks real. But yeah, our gear, Nikon D750s bodies, which are full frame Nikon cameras. And then we use mainly fixed lenses. So we rock a 20, a 35, a 50, an 85,
70 to 200.
70 to 200, and a 105 macro. Those are all, sorry, I kind of flipped through those really quick. 20 mil 1.8.
They can pause it. People can pause it and rewind.
35, 1.8, 50, 1.4, 85, 1.8.
Got to be fast. Got to be fast lenses.
Yeah, that's more important. But I also, as much as I'd love to have the best, I never want to miss a shot because I'm worried about, being super gentle on my gear. Like, we're pretty hard. If I need to change a lens, I'm ripping it off, I'm chucking it in the bag, and I'm grabbing the one I want. I prefer to have stuff that if it breaks, whatever, $500 lens, $600 lens, we'll go get another one tomorrow. I like to be agile. In this, the gear that's out there right now, it's all good. you know, it's more important how you use it and what you're doing with it than,
Yeah.
you know,
Do you shoot Nikon, Canon, Sony?
Nikon
Nikon,
D750s. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Actually, sorry. Yeah, I think you said that. But yeah, you're right. It's not really so much about the gear; it's how you use it. How do you back up your photos? And I ask that because I know you guys put something on a story or something a little while back about backing up twice as soon as you get home or something. And I know
It's actually funny because we're sitting beside a bag full of 4 weddings right now of memory cards.
Oh, so that's the nuclear football sitting right beside
that
me.
is right in there. We have a hard drive and about, I don't know, 30 memory cards in there, all full. So we don't let the cards leave our sides until the wedding's done. So everywhere we go, we have them with us. We keep a hard drive at home in a safe, fire safe, and
We'll basically upload them to a hard drive as soon as we get home from the wedding, just so
The
we
raws.
have, the raws, which takes a couple hours sometimes, depending on the day. So we just at least have those on one hard drive. We have the cards with us, and then it's really about just even editing the photos and getting them out quickly as possible, so they're on our online platform, and then that way it's online. So at that
that's
point,
the best backup plan ever is get them done fast.
Yeah.
So they're on the hard drive. They're also on the cards. And then they're also going to be in Lightroom, I guess, when you import them into Lightroom. So in your computer. When do you decide to delete stuff? Like, do you keep... Like, you must have a lot of memory cards. And then you got your hard drives. Like, how long would you keep a wedding for?
Forever.
Yeah,
Forever?
like the 1-star, like the photos that we're delivering, those will keep forever, like raws on our hard drives.
Usually once a
You
year.
keep the raws and the processed.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
because
then,
I have this vision of when I'm old and retired and too old to shoot, I'm going to want to go back and re-edit all my favorite photos.
Okay. That's
and
interesting.
then they'll be online forever, on our platform as well. that
No,
we
I would say
use.
once a year we'll go back. We try to leave some leeway in case, somebody passes away and, the bride comes to us and says, you know what, do you have any other photos of grandma? So we do have that option to maybe dig. I mean, it's rare. That's never happened. I think there was one time where we did an engagement session with the dog was in the photos and he passed away like that day after. So she's like, give me every photo you have. But I mean, the ones we give them are the good ones.
Yeah.
Right. Like there's not much point. So once a year we'll go through and all the raws that we just kind of chucked. We'll actually give them a final delete because it does take up a lot of space.
Because I'm obsessed with backing up because years ago I lost that white MacBook up there, crashed on me once. I lost everything on it. So then ever since then, I've got like 3 hard drives of duplicates, like 1.5 terabytes is each drive.
Yeah.
And so everything, my photos, my video, everything I back up, and it's like I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
But then I'm always interested to see what other people do because I'm not like a pro photographer who's taking 8,000 photos every weekend. That people are paying me big money, so I don't have that stress. I'm always wondering what other people do.
I mean, we use the best hard drives money can buy. We use the best memory cards money can buy. I've never had a card failed on me.
Yeah, we've never
treat
had a
them
card crash or anything.
Step number 1, never delete from the camera. That's just asking for your card to corrupt. Format every single time. Like we're very methodical about how we treat our cards. So we've never had any issues with them.
How many cards do you have on a rotation?
I have no idea. We use mainly 32 gig SanDisk Extreme Pros. There's probably about 30 of them.
Okay, that's what I was going to guess, like probably 20, 30 cards.
Yeah. I mean, every couple months we'll just go buy a handful of them just to make sure we have extras.
And sorry, since I'm not familiar with the Nikon, do they take, is it compact flash? Is it SD?
SD.
Oh, so it's only SD.
Yeah.
It's not like the Canon, that stupid system where one's an SD
No.
and one's a compact flash.
No, and that's part of the reason why we've stuck with the 750s too, is we like that dual card slot. The swivel screen, they're light, they're small. I understand there are cameras out there with better, megapixel count, but I don't think that's what it's all about. I think it's the best tool for the job.
Once you're getting into the 20 megapixels, it doesn't really make a huge difference. Like,
Yeah.
You don't need 50.
Yeah, and I mean, with some of these 50 megapixel cameras, imagine the hard drives we'd have to have every month. We have a new hard drive, right? We gotta go buy one right after this. Actually,
Best Buy has a deal.
Do they?
They have a sale on right now. It's probably not for what you want, but I know some stuff's on
Check
sale
it
at
out.
Best Buy.
Maybe. There is a software called Backblaze, which we started using last year, which is a cloud service that's actually fairly affordable.
But it just wasn't keeping up.
Yeah, we couldn't keep up with us, and we upgraded our internet to the fastest possible thing MTS can give us. And it would take, 3 months for that wedding to finally go up in the cloud, and at that point the wedding's long done. So it's like, what's the point? So
Yeah.
we keep hard copies, and we're glued to those cards until the wedding's done.
Okay. Other than weddings, what other stuff do you do? I know you do some commercial shoots.
Yep.
You've worked for some big clients, the NHL, Skip the Dishes, Pepsi, Sun Life, Parks Canada. What's that like? Is your style and process different than for weddings? Do you not do, like, obviously you prefer weddings more than commercial?
Yeah, we don't really advertise that much for commercial photography. I guess just because just getting into this, we wanted our brand to really be wedding related, but we have picked up some commercial gigs over the last few years for sure, and that's mainly in our off season. A lot of that stuff is Joel's expertise.
Yeah, I actually enjoy
say.
commercial stuff because it's usually, well, not always, but in a lot of cases, it's kind of the one thing where you have complete control. I'm a bit of a control freak.
To a point, unless the company.
Sometimes, sometimes it's very similar to a wedding where it's just all chaos and you just have to run and gun everything. But we don't really treat it much differently from a wedding. Our editing style stays the same for the most part. Sometimes we tweak a little bit if it's.
Would a client not dictate we want it to be this specific?
The only time I had that was working with Parks Canada, because they're national and they have hundreds of photographers that work across the board for that same look. So they were very particular about how they were processed. Besides that, no, I've never really had any issues. We do Little Brown Jug. We do all their photography. We have for a little while. And in the beginning, we kind of developed a preset together that gave them the look they wanted. So
that's cool.
So this way we can have consistency for them. Besides that, it's kind of just whatever we feel the photo should look like, really.
Yeah, but obviously, shooting it is different than we would go into a wedding. In terms of just even if we're doing a shoot together, I guess. There's just different shots that we would, Joel might work on product shots, for example, and maybe if there's people involved in the company, I might focus again on that emotion of the company. So just kind of going into
getting the face of the company.
Yeah, exactly. So just finding out what the company wants, I guess, and shooting for that, but still keeping our style or a little flair on it.
I would say a majority of the commercial work we do, which I think a lot of the commercial work that maybe commercial work is not the right term, but a lot of companies that are coming to us, it's specifically for their socials, right?
Yeah,
so
a lot of it wants for Instagram
that.
Posts, that's what they want for, or website work.
Yeah, so we try to get a feel for what that company is, what they stand for, what kind of message they really want to put out there, and we just try to capture that for them. It's...
Okay, that's cool. And I know for weddings, you guys generally do where Cheryl will be on one lens, one focal length, and you'll be on the other. So that way you get unique stuff.
Yeah, as I mentioned, although that list of lenses, we only have one of each.
Yeah, so we're never using the same lens on a wedding day. And, even when we're in a moment shooting that same thing together for the ceremony example, one of us will be on wides, one of us will be on close-ups. But then maybe in bridals, we'll swap that. I'll be on close-ups, he'll be on wides kind of thing. So, never the same lens, never going for the same angle. We essentially want to give our clients two different style of photos for every moment that we're at. And I think people really like that.
And you do the same sort of idea with corporate stuff where...
each take our own kind of angle or just view on it. Essentially we're shooting each with our own ideas in mind. It's if you even think of us as individuals, I think I like different things than Joel likes, but that's what kind of makes us good, because then our clients, whether it's a wedding or commercial, will get those two different, feminine, masculine too is a good way to describe it. I might go for the pretty kind of thing, and he'll go for just this is the product, or this is this moment at the wedding, and I'm just trying to capture grandma crying or something, just two different looks on it is really helpful.
Does any commercial shoot stand out? I know one, well, actually, I'm not even going to finish that. Does any commercial shoot stand out? I know there's one I'm thinking of, but I don't want to influence your answer.
What, just being an awesome...
Just something unique, something really cool.
A company that we've done?
I don't want you to favor a company, but is there something that
What was
was
the
really
coolest
cool.
thing? I mean, we did get to shoot the Stanley Cup.
That's the one I was thinking of.
Was it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was cool.
pretty
Well,
cool.
that
was really
through,
random.
That was through Pepsi. It was a contest through Pepsi. And how
So
did
what
we
happened?
even
It was a
get
marketing
that?
company in Toronto that reached out
Right,
to us.
that's what it was.
That were organizing. So Pepsi Lay's had a contest across Canada. I think each province had a winner, where they would sponsor a playoff party. So it was
Okay.
during the playoffs. I think.
And it was take home the cup. So
Take home the
whoever
cup.
won
Yeah,
that.
so there was obviously a winner from Winnipeg here, and we brought a videographer along to capture video for it as well, and they basically brought home the cup. They brought the Stanley Cup into the winner's basement, and
they had lace stacked up to like his ceiling. Just like all these boxes of chips
it's
and
really cool.
Pepsi.
It's really cool.
That's pretty cool.
But yeah, we got to touch the cup and
Yeah, it's to snap a photo. We're not really big sports fans. I mean, we're starting to get a little bit more into hockey in the last year.
But it was very cool, and a lot of people were jealous that we were there.
I think the
yeah,
Parks
sure.
Canada thing stands out to me because that was quite the production. You know, they had their art director from out east come and not shoot alongside, but he was with me for every shoot, and we had the whole gang of like models, and it was at Lower Fort Garry. So I don't know if you've ever been there. I think a lot of people
have, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's an old fort, like it's from
Yeah.
the 1700s. It's a legit fort. It's not a recreate. It's the actual thing.
Yeah, and all the staff there dress up like I think it's the 60s. I don't even know.
It could be 1600s. Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe you're right. Yeah,
So
could
that
be.
was kind of fun. It was like a 3-day long shoot, and it was.
And we actually do quite a bit of styled shoots with other vendors in the city too. So we just kind of all come together for a day, and everybody just kind of gives products or services, what that is, just to promote their own companies. We take photos of it, so those have been really fun too, because we usually have creative control on those, and we just shoot for all the different businesses involved and make some cool photos.
That's cool. One last question before we get to the closing questions. Would you guys ever consider getting into video for weddings as well and offering that, or do you just want to stick to photos?
Yes, we might get into, we kind of actually have, like we've dabbled with it. I would say we are nowhere near what any of the amazing videographers in the city can do, but we've definitely have been playing with video at a few of our weddings, even in our engagement shoots a little bit. We're just kind of learning ourselves just how to use Premiere and editing. I really actually like videos, so I might be dabbling that a little bit more as the year goes on. But yeah, it's definitely something that we might offer in the future.
Yeah, I mean, it's taken us 10 years to get where we are with photography. So I think the struggle there is we wouldn't want to fully actually introduce video until our videography can
match that
quality.
Photos.
And there's also, there's this trade-off because right now I think a lot of people, our clients hire us because of the two photographers. Now we have done one or was it two where we kind of pulled double duty where we're each doing photo and video. And I mean, frankly, it just leads to a few less photos, and it's hard to capture everything on video while taking photos. So we have some work to do on figuring out who what the role would be. I think ideally we'd love to maybe move to an option where couples can have just one photographer and one videographer, where we just kind of have our roles, but time will tell.
Yeah, we'll see where that goes.
Okay. So now we'll get into the closing questions. You might be familiar with this, you might not be. I kind of ask a couple random questions that are just kind of like some fun stuff. Nothing, you don't have to think about it, or you can think about it if you want. I added 1 or 2 new ones this week. So strangest or most exotic place you've lost or damaged gear? Or you can pass if you don't want.
The only thing that comes to mind is I think the first time I went to Boily with my dad, I lost a lens cap.
Okay.
It wasn't actually in Boily. It was in Lombok, which is like, this was a year 2015 before tourism had even really taken off there. So it was like super remote village. I had lost a lens cap, and a year later I got it back.
No way.
Yeah. They had sent it to my dad's friend in Boily. My dad had gone back, and my dad brought it back to me. So I was like, yeah, cool. Like, it made
That's
its way
incredible.
across the earth.
I've broken a couple. I can't even think of the name now. On our hike, with the gimbal, what did I break?
Oh, the Osmo?
Yes, the Osmo.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I broke that by shoving it into a backpack and not its case. So that kind of broke the gimbal piece on it. And we had a GoPro for
Incident.
a few days when I
But we
broke.
tricked them into replacing it for us.
Yeah, both things we actually got replaced under warranty, so that was great. But
That's good, yeah.
Joel actually crashed a drone
Yeah,
under a
I
bridge
crashed
after
a drone.
about 10 days of having it, so that was not very fun either.
Pie or cake?
Pie.
Yeah, I'll go pie.
Coke or Pepsi?
Neither.
Neither. I don't like anything carbonated.
Unless there's a little bit of like, maybe a little bit of whiskey in there, then
Okay.
sign me up. But
That's fair. Or, I mean, would it be 7-Up then or Sprite with the whiskey? Or
I'd probably go ginger, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
ginger. Very good. He's a sophisticated man. Mario Kart or Diddy Kong Racing?
Mario Kart.
Yeah, I'm not really a big gamer, but I think
But if I
would
had
do
to
that.
choose,
Yeah.
Okay. Movies or TV?
Movies, 100%.
I might go TV
yeah, you
on
like
this
your
one.
shows.
Yeah, I have a few shows.
Now, okay. Fallon or Kimmel or, depending, Leno or Letterman?
Fallon.
Kind of. I just wasn't sure if you guys still watch night shows. And people
Yeah, I
don't really watch them
kind of
anymore.
don't really, but I do like Fallon. He's a little cheesy, but he's a good time. You can't not like smile
Yeah.
because he's
Yeah.
just always so excited and like happy. It's
Yeah, that's true. This is a new question. If you could photograph any celebrity, who would it be?
Bill Hader.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not.
You can pass. You don't
Yeah,
have to
I'm
answer.
gonna pass.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna guess your answer, and I'm gonna say it's either like Kim Kardashian or something, so everybody sees the photo.
No, I wouldn't say that.
No, okay, I was just trying to.
Okay, last one. If you could only have access to one form of media for the rest of your life, will it be music, movies, or TV?
Music.
I'm gonna go movies because movies have soundtracks, so I can just like compile all the movies that have my favorite songs in them, and like loophole.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
I will close on a quote from your website that sums up what I think how devoted the two of you are. It says, photography is more than just a job to us, it's a lifestyle. If we're not shooting weddings, we're experimenting and pushing ourselves to make our art even better for our future clients. We want everyone we work with to feel confident and beautiful on their wedding day. We just want you to have fun and forget about the cameras. We love real moments with real emotions. Joel and Cheryl, thanks for coming in today.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks
Kyle.
for having us.
Appreciate it. And thank you all for listening today as well. If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a thumbs up and a follow and a subscribe and a rate and all that other fun stuff. Unless you're like myself and you just can't be bothered, then that's okay too. I won't hold it against you. You can find us on Instagram at The Third Rule. That's with the number 3, and on all podcast platforms and the YouTube machine too. Thanks again for listening, and we will catch you next time.